Something strange is happening online right now. A name that most people barely noticed a while ago is suddenly appearing everywhere on TikTok feeds. YouTube commentary videos, Twitter threads, and long Reddit discussions that keep getting longer. Every day, that name is Erica. Kirk, and what makes this situation interesting is not just the name itself, but the way the internet is reacting to it. Because when a person suddenly starts getting attention online, the internet doesn't wait for clarity. It reacts first. It questions first. And in many cases, it builds its own version of the story before anything is officially confirmed. Right now, that's exactly what's happening. Some people say her visibility feels sudden. Others say it's completely normal in the age of social media, where attention can spike overnight. And then there's a third group, people who are simply watching the conversation unfold without fully knowing what to believe. But once a topic reaches this level of attention, something always happens. It stops being about the person and starts becoming about the narrative. At first, the discussions were small and scattered. A few comments under videos, a few reposts of clips, some casual questions in forums asking who she is and why she's being mentioned more frequently. Nothing unusual for the internet. But then something shifted. More people joined the conversation. More clips started circulating. More interpretations appeared, and slowly, without anyone officially organizing it, a pattern began to form. Not a verified pattern, but a perceived one. And that difference is where most internet stories begin to change shape. Because once the human brain senses a pattern of incomplete information, it starts trying to complete the missing pieces. People began revisiting old appearances, public moments, and timelines that were already available online. Not necessarily because something was wrong, but because curiosity naturally pushes people to connect dots. And when enough people do that at the same time, something powerful happens. Individual speculation turns into collective narrative. And collective narrative feels stronger than it actually is. This is one of the most important mechanics of the modern internet. A topic doesn't need proof to grow. It just needs repetition. A clip gets shared. A comment gets liked thousands of times. A reaction video adds emotional framing. Another creator responds to that reaction. And suddenly the topic is no longer about facts, it is about engagement. At that point, truth and interpretation start blending together, and most viewers don't even notice the difference anymore. Another major factor is something very simple, but very powerful: missing context. Whenever people feel like they don't have the full story, they naturally try to fill in the gaps themselves. It's a basic human instinct. But online, that instinct becomes amplified because there is always another post, another theory, another thread, other videos suggesting a different angle. So instead of clarity, people are exposed to multiple interpretations of the same limited information, and every interpretation feels like it might be part of the truth even when none of them are confirmed. This is how modern viral narratives are built, not through one single claim, but through layers of fragmented attention. And as more layers are added, the original context becomes harder and harder to see. Another thing that drives this kind of situation is repetition across platforms. When you see the same idea mentioned again and again on different apps, it's from different creators, it starts to feel more credible, not because it is proven, but because it is familiar. And the human brain often confuses familiarity with truth. That's why some stories spread even when no new information is added. They are not growing in accuracy. They are growing in exposure. And exposure is what algorithms reward. The more people engage, the more the content spreads. And the more it spreads, the more people feel like it must be important. That creates a loop. Attention creates visibility. Visibility creates curiosity. Curiosity creates more content. And the cycle repeats at this stage. The story is no longer controlled by any single person. or platform, it becomes decentralized, a shared narrative built by thousands of small contributions, comments, clips, reactions, opinions, and interpretations. And once that happens, it becomes extremely difficult to slow it down, because now it is not just information, it is participation. People are not just watching the story, they are inside it. They are shaping it, even unintentionally. And that's why situations like this spread so quickly online, not because there is always something concrete driving them forward, but because attention itself is the fuel. It's also important to separate three things that often get mixed together in viral discussions: confirmed information, interpretations, and speculation. Most online conversations exist mainly in the second and third category. But when everything is presented in the same format, clips, posts, screenshots, it becomes very difficult for audiences to distinguish between them in real time. And that's where misunderstanding begins to grow. Not from one big false claim, but from many small, unclear ones stacking on top of each other. Meanwhile, the speed of the internet continues to increase. In the past, it took days or weeks for a narrative to form around public attention. Now it takes hours, sometimes even minutes. A single moment can trigger thousands of reactions almost instantly. And once that momentum begins, it rarely stops on its own. It either fades quietly or evolves into something much larger than the original moment ever was. That's why stories like this feel unpredictable, because they are not linear. Anymore, they are reactive, constantly changing based on who is engaging with them at any given time. So when people ask why a topic like this is everywhere right now, the answer is not simple. It is not just about one person. It is about how digital attention works in 2026, fast, fragmented, and emotionally amplified. And in this environment, perception often moves faster than verification, which means the most powerful force online is no longer truth or falsehood. It is momentum. And once momentum starts building around a topic, it becomes very hard to stop, because at that point, the internet is no longer asking what is true. It is asking what feels interesting enough to keep watching. And that brings us to the real question behind all of this: not whether every claim online is accurate, but why certain stories capture attention so quickly while others disappear without ever being noticed. Is it the subject? Or is it the system itself? And more importantly, how often do we become part of that system without even realizing it? Because every click, every view, every comment, and every share adds to the momentum, even when we think we are just observing. At the end of the day, this conversation isn't really about one name or one story. It's about how information moves today, how quickly something can shift from a small discussion into a massive online narrative, and how easily incomplete or unverified pieces of information can turn into full-scale conversations when enough people start engaging with them at the same time. Because in the modern internet era, tension doesn't wait for confirmation. It builds first and asks questions later. That's why understanding how these cycles work is more important than jumping to conclusions about any specific topic. Not everything that spreads is fully accurate, but not everything that spreads is meaningless either. The challenge is learning how to separate emotion from evidence in real time while still participating in a space that is designed to keep you emotionally engaged. So instead of asking only what is true, a better question might be, how did this story become this big in the first place? Because once you understand that, you start seeing patterns everywhere. And once you see those patterns, you realize something important. The internet is not just showing us stories, it is shaping how we experience them. Now, I want to know your thoughts. Do you think this is just normal viral behavior in the digital age? Or do you think it reflects something deeper about how online narratives are formed and amplified? Let me know in the comments. If you want more deep Cinematic breakdowns of viral internet topics explained in a clean, neutral documentary. Style, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned because the next story is already building momentum right now.